All right, Dakota's on your left here, Randy Keatley on your right. Looks like they're going to go ahead and sculpt those opening hands. And I already see one of the prototypical best one drops that you can have in a deck like this. I see a Cursed Merfolk, Dakota Cotton's opening hand. Great card to start off with here.
Absolutely. Just the pinnacle of Emerald Aggression.
Yeah, and for his deck here, what you're going to see with Emerald Aggression is a great way to put this, by the way. Absolutely love this. He has almost nothing over 4 in his deck. He has the shift line of Ursula that he can do, which helps him kind of in his rougher matchups. Because he's not singing much in these matchups, so he's like, look, if I can't sing, you can't sing either. And so that's a good card to kind of help with that. But what you're going to see is Dakota's going to try to get really low underneath Randy as quickly as possible. You're going to start presenting boards that are hard for Randy to keep up with, one for lore, and then it's going to be challenging for him on like, how do I challenge? Where do I challenge? And stuff like that. And then Dakota's going to have a lot of minimum crabs as well in his deck too to help him challenge up into some of these cards as well.
Absolutely.
Because he will get outsized at times.
I could definitely see that happening with a Ruby Amethyst. A lot of heavy hitters in that deck for sure.
Looks like we're going to have great one-drops from both of the players here. Chernobyl's followers on Randy's side, Cursed Merfolk that we talked about on Dakota's side here.
Absolutely. Chernobyl's followers, great. Whenever it quests, you can banish it to draw a card. And of course, Cursed Merfolk, whenever it is challenged, your opponent has to discard a card. So...
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of the ones where, since it's a one-drop that quests for 2, it has no strength, so it doesn't challenge well into other things. But it kind of feels bad. You never really want to challenge into a Merfolk because you have to give up a card.
Yes.
But it's questing for 2 as early as turn 2. That's so much to keep up with. You're going to see multiple cards needed from Randy to keep up with this one card from Dakota, and that's a Sir Hiss that's coming behind it. This is another card that's really important. We see this a lot in the Emerald decks because not only is it good at challenging up into most of the 2, 3, and 4 drops in this matchup. It's got evasive, so Dakota gets to set the rules of engagement here in this matchup, but you're going to find that a lot with his deck. He has a lot of evasive characters in his deck here, and that's going to make it really, really hard on Randy to challenge correctly, and see Randy actually doing something like that this turn with, he's going to go ahead, cash in the followers for a card here, and then he's going to go ahead and pick off this Cursed Merfolk, but it is going to cost him a Sisu here, that's a really good 3-drop. So I have to wonder, does Randy have something behind this?
Yeah, that's not a trade that feels particularly good, so definitely interested. Oh, another one.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I feel like a second Sisu is coming here once you've discarded one to the Cursed Merfolk. But you can see here, Sir Hiss, evasive, you can quest here, you can challenge, you can do however you want.
Oh, another fantastic card, Kit Cloud Kicker. Whenever he is played, he is able to kick back a character with 1 or less strength.
And here you're seeing kind of what Dakota's deck is geared to do, right? This is why I talk about it's a low-to-the-ground tempo deck. See, these cards, not super great rate, like a 2/2 for 3 here that quests for 1. Kind of generic, but... it's buying some tempo, right? Like it just bounced the card back to Randy's hand. That card is not in play anymore. And if he wants to put it back out, it's going to take more time, more ink consumption for him. He's going to have to commit time and effort to put this card back into play. And Dakota's going to keep advancing his board as he does this. Questing a little bit here, trading when he wants to. Like I said, he's still got those crabs. So if he needed to, he could trade up into the Sisu at some point in time. Well, a lot of options for Dakota here. And you can see why this deck is A, one of his picks for this weekend, and B, why it does well in this kind of matchup. Speaking of Merlin.
There comes Merlin Rabbit, one of our favorite ways to draw a card. And anytime he enters and leaves, you get to draw a card. So very fun to bounce him back and forth.
Yeah, one of the flagship cards of this deck, Merlin Rabbit. Here, hey, look.
And there's the crab.
It's almost like I knew it was coming. Yeah, this is one of the best crab decks I've ever seen. Like we've seen Ruby Amethyst use crab, in the past. It's kind of fallen out of favor a little bit. We're starting to see it come into play just a little bit more, depending on what the sizing of the characters are in other decks. Dakota's deck is a crab deck. This is a deck where I believe he's playing the full amount. I don't have the actual deck list in front of me, but he was talking about, I want crabs. I want to be able to use them as often as possible, trade in as much as I possibly can. I want to get all the value out of these I can. Speaking of value, Randy's doing a decent little job of it here. That Merlin Rabbit's going to get picked up and draw an extra card.
Yeah, absolutely. With the Madam and also with the crabs, it's like taking the support dynamic and just like escalating it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible to see. Definitely. Oh, another crab.
Yeah, so we're seeing it on both sides. Both these players are distinguished gentlemen. They know to be playing the crab. Another thing to be saying about this is the body that's left on this. It is a 3/3 for 3 here, which is really important because of stuff like we see the card in play right now, Madam Mim, Fox, and that one is one of the better cards in this matchup because if Randy ever gets to play that and challenge something that's a little bit smaller, he gets a ton of value off of this. But most of the stuff that he's been able to challenge so far would either trade for it or has evasive, so he can't actually challenge it.
Yes. Yeah, evasive really, really can gum up the works really quickly if you don't have the counters when you need them.
Not to mention, it's a card that costs 3, it lets you sing friends from the other side here, and this is really great for Dakota because the crab's already gotten its value, right? It allowed a card to trade up. It's now helped him draw 2 extra cards here, which is awesome. And then if anything wants to trade into this, he doesn't get a free trade. Everything is going to have to also be banished. And a really timely Ursula here is going to take care of one of those Be Prepared because that is one of the only cards Dakota says that he really worries about in this matchup.
Yeah.
Is he's going to get to a point where they have to be prepared him, and if they don't have it, then the game's a lot easier from there.
That's good. So yeah, knowing that is not directly a threat right this moment is very good. But of course, Randy has 3 more in there, so we'll see if they chime up again.
Yeah, that's a really great point. There's usually 4 copies of this card in this matchup. You take your time. Sometimes you might want to wait till turn 6. When they have 6 ink to Ursula, just to make sure that you get the Be Prepared right before. But you got to fill in your curve here. I love playing the Ursula out there for Dakota because it's going to keep, using his ink every turn as much as he possibly can. And he needs to use his more efficiently in this matchup to really, really be ahead of Randy because Randy has a much better and powerful late game than Dakota does.
Absolutely, yes. Once Randy is able to drop those castles and the Be Prepareds, he can take control of this board extremely quickly.
Yeah, I think you bring up Castle. Great point here. Such a powerful card, and it's always on everyone's mind when they're playing against this deck. And that's another reason why you see the crabs are so important for Dakota is what does he have to trade into Castle? It's going to take his entire board half the time to do that. So crabs helping out a lot there.
Definitely a castle seizure if there ever was one. That's But like you were saying, that evasive is so powerful. Sir Hiss, he's pretty much whatever he wants to do, he can do. If he wants to quest, if he wants, it's okay if he's exerted. He is under no threat right now.
It's nice to see it shine in another deck too. We've seen it a lot in the deck I like to call Lemon Lime.
The Amber Emerald, absolutely.
It's one of those cards when you see it, it's like, obviously, a 3/1 evasive character, that's great, right?
Yeah.
It's good on rate, but you don't realize how impactful it is in a deck that has a lot of songs that cost 2 as well. The fact that it has evasive, so you can just keep singing turn after turn after turn, and they can't really challenge into your main singer, that's awesome. And then when it does actually want to challenge, having 3 strength is so big because, as you see, all the important characters in most of these decks are tradable in for the Sir Hiss. I love seeing cards like this just find that niche, and then they're just so perfect in their role.
3 is such a magical number in this game. It's just like a little bit higher than 2 because lots of things have 2, but once you get to that 3, everything's a little bit more difficult, and it seems to be a very common willpower number.
Yep. All right, so we have another crab getting played here. We had a Maleficent get played here to draw an extra card. And what you're really seeing here is the power of Amethyst. I think this is actually what this is going to show off this round is how good that Amethyst package is. And that's something we're going to be seeing for a while. I think even when set 5 comes out, you're still going to be seeing a lot of these cards be the crux of the Amethyst decks.
Absolutely. Well, when the bounce package first came out way back when, I remember everyone was so like, whoa. And everyone was struggling to counter it. And now it just keeps going and going. And it keeps getting better. It's still relevant. It's still excellent.
Yeah, I just love how flexible it allows you because you're seeing it here with Randy. Randy's doing a really good job of this. The fact that it's this turn 6, turn 7 ink, and he's getting to play 2 drops, 3 drops, and 4 drops all in the same turn, but he's already played them as well. So you get to play a 3-drop on 3, a 4-drop on 4, and then on 5 you get to play maybe a 3-drop and a 2-drop, right?
Absolutely.
And then it starts to fill in, and you get to maximize your ink as the game goes on.
Absolutely, yeah, and it really shows these kind of players who know when to play, what they play, what to bounce, when to bounce it, and doing that sort of 2, 3, 4 math makes a huge difference.
You see Randy inking a Brawl there as well, and I haven't played this match from Randy's side, and I wonder if maybe he's realized, I think I don't want to be spending 3 ink to take care of a character here because I'm almost trading down in all these situations because a lot of things he's going to be killing. You've either drawn cards, have been in play and done a bunch of stuff, or got played for a lot cheaper than that from Dakota.
That's a great point. Absolutely.
Dakota going to go ahead and quest up here. I think both the players have just evened it up here at 8.
Yes. So it is definitely a close match. I'm excited to see what happens kind of as the further the game goes on when we get towards that late game.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point here because we know the late game from Randy's going to be powerful, right?
Yes.
Like this is what his deck is geared to do. Can Dakota keep up with us? Because it wasn't like maybe some friendly smack talk. He's like, yeah, this is the matchup that I want. If I could play Ruby Amethyst all day long, I would take these matchups. I feel very comfortable with this match. Dakota was talking about like he had done tons of preparation for this. This is one of the matchups he played the most. And you're seeing he's kind of keeping up with what Randy's doing here with his Fox of his own, his Maleficent, drawing a bunch of extra cards, because this is going to in some ways play out a lot like the Ruby Amethyst mirror. And in that mirror, you want to try to protect your Rabbit Maleficent type cards as much as you possibly can. You want to make sure that you get as many card draws off of them as you can, because your opponent's going to be doing the same thing, and it helps you keep parity with ink and card quantity as the game goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. They always say, you can kind of tell if you're doing well if you have lots of cards in hand and lots of cards in play. It's so just a really, really easy way.
That's the annoying thing about this, right? When you play against this deck, like they do so many things a turn, right? They're doing like 3 or 4 actions a turn. A lot of times they're questing, they're challenging, and then you're like, well, how many cards do you have left? And they're like 6. And you're like, you're like, how?
How possibly?
You've played an ink every turn.
Yeah.
You've used all of your ink every turn, and you have more cards than I do.
Right.
What are we doing? Yeah.
For sure. Randy, 6 there. What do we got?
Yeah, one of the more impactful cards in practically every matchup, but definitely this one. Madam can come down and just pick off practically anything on Dakota's side of the board. Really good card for him here. It's going to do a very good job of challenging if it gets to do that as well. But we've seen Dakota really mindful and keeping away from just giving up anything in challenges that he doesn't have to, and giving away too much stuff there. And also, we're getting to the point where Randy has a little bit of an ink advantage. We haven't seen another Be Prepared. I haven't got a good chance to see his hand here, but we got that one taken out earlier, so something Dakota might have to have in the back of his mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you always start getting a little nervous when a Ruby player has 7 ink.
They've always got it.
They always.
Becky, they've always got it. Yeah.
Yeah. At least when they're playing me, they do.
Yeah, I love that we have Madam M and Madam Medusa up right here. Someone likes Madams, I guess, when it comes to Disney Lorcana, because these are 2 of the better cards in all of Lorcana, in my opinion.
Very, very true. They both get to see so much play. They're really disruptive. Nobody plays a Madam M or a Madam Medusa, and their opponent's like, "Oh, good, no,
good,
yeah." No, it's never good news for you.
You're always like crossing your fingers. You're like, please don't have Madam Medusa on 6. Please don't have Madam Medusa on 6.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have the goat coming out, which gives 1 lore when he enters play, 1 lore when he exits play. So a very fun character to bounce. We see Goat doing some really, really big impact towards late game in at least most Amethyst decks. I don't know what Dakota's big plan will be here.
Looks like he's gonna go ahead and follow us up with 2 more 1-drops here. 1 with evasive, 1 without.
Another evasive. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Yeah, it's those evasives, because both of these are pretty small characters, especially, Pegasus, Good for Hercules, is only a 1/1, and then Hiss with the 3/1. It's like, they're not big, but that Hiss has been here for a long time.
Right, it was played on turn 2, right?
It was.
Yeah. He's just been doing it. He's just been off the side, just doing his job.
Yes.
Madam M, you see they're questing as well, because there are no advantageous trades from Randy here. Any of the challenges that Randy would make here would also cost him a card as well.
Right.
And Dakota does have that lore advantage here as well. So he's in the driver's seat right here. We'll have to see if Randy can have a big enough turn, which this leads me to believe I think we're getting Be Prepared here this turn. Maybe not. Okay.
We're bouncing.
This is Be Prepared at home. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the Madam Fox to pick up the Madam Medusa.
Yes.
It's going to get a good trade in.
Yes.
And then the Madam Medusa is going to come in and pick off another character. I know this is going to make you sad. Sir Hiss is finally
I shouldn't have said anything. That's what did it.
you put the target on his back.
I did.
I'm going to blame you specifically here.
You and Dakota both can.
Okay.
So that was Be Prepared at home. So now Dakota still having the goat. We have Baby Evasive Pegasus and the Churnabox followers, which doesn't do a whole lot. Basically made to replace itself ultimately.
Yeah. It does look like Dakota is going to make that choice. And I was wondering, you brought that up. That's a really good point. Is he going to cash in the card from Trader Box followers here? And with the two characters that are on Randy's side here, I have to believe you're going to definitely want to cash in a card, unbeknownst what's in his hand. Depending on what is in Dakota's hand here, it could change here as well. And here,
okay. All right. Sorry.
Oh no, that's a really good thing to point out. Madam Mim plus Goat here at this point in time, when you have this kind of lore, this is where it starts to get really, really scary because Dakota might be able to win from here without ever questing again this game.
Absolutely, you're totally right because he's now at 17. Even if Randy is able to take out some of these characters, Dakota is still in a really good spot if he can bounce.
Yeah, and you see Randy sees the writing on the wall and is going to allow Dakota to win that game one. He's going to scoop him up there. And I think it's a really good point to talk about right there that Dakota, the turn before, had set up a board that he was like, you need to be prepared for me here if you have it. And then when he does, he's like, all right, finally now I'm going to start doing the Goat plus Madam Mim package and really lean into that because it's pretty obvious you probably don't have a be prepared here.
Right. Yeah. If it existed, you would have done it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fantastic. That was a really fun game. It was really fun seeing that build. It seems very successful, very cool. I like it. It's doing a lot throughout the whole game. Definitely keeping its opponents on its toes. So very cool.
Yeah, it's one of those games where it's one of the decks where when you see the cards in a vacuum, right? Like you see this card alone and this like Sir Hiss alone or Pegasus alone, you're like, that's cute. It's an okay card. But then when you see the deck play out the way it does, he's got so many 1s, 2s, and 3s. He's almost always going to curve out early. But then his deck has the robust Amethyst late game that he could play as well. You see why this was a good choice this weekend and why the deck is very powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah, very, very cool. I loved it.
Yeah, speaking of how much you love that one, let's see if we get game 2.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, let's do it again. Sounds like game 2 is ready for these players.
Sounds good.
Let's see if Randy could even this one up or if Dakota's going to take a 2-0 here.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, because Randy probably didn't know a whole lot about what to expect when Dakota came in, but now he's seen it. He's seen Dakota's plan, and he might be able to make some choices differently to be able to counter it.
That is an absolutely perfect point. It's such a good point that you brought up here. You're going to see a much cleaner exchange of his early hand from Randy here and sculpt a hand that is going to be better in this matchup. And what I think I see happening, I can't be perfect on this, is I think we're looking to fight as much as he possibly can in the early game. Randy is looking at that because he's starting to realize my opponent's deck might be more efficient than my own.
Right.
And I think it's a great point you brought up. He didn't know what to expect in this game. And I think that is, for everybody out there who likes to brew, who likes to make their own decks, so, I know you do. I like to play a little off meta. You can see the advantage of it here. If you pick the right stuff at the right time, your opponent's going to be thrown and not know what to do. And you could have had all the testing in the world, play this matchup 100 times, and then your opponent plays a card you're not ready for, and you're like, I don't.
Wait. Yeah.
What do I do? What do I do now? Yeah.
No, 100%. There is that sort of advantage to playing something unexpected. The real test, though, is if it can stay consistent after the novelty's worn off.
That's another great point. You're like, okay, look, I've been surprised by this. Now that I'm prepared, let me show you the strength of my deck. And something here, and that's what Randy's hoping for. And speaking of the strength of the deck, that's another turn 1 Curse Merfolk.
It sure is, which that is a beautiful card to open a hand with.
Great openers from both Chernobyl followers. I mean, we're gonna see a lot of this, a lot of the same cards from each other in the first couple turns.
Yes.
And
there's Sir Hiss.
Yeah, and just like last game, Dakota with the Curse Merfolk into the Sir Hiss start, really great for me. And no quest here. It's kind of interesting. Like, I think it's great in the fact that he doesn't give the freebie. I say freebie. He doesn't give the challenge to the Chernobyl Box followers here to take out the Curse Merfolk. I know it would get a card from him, but this puts the onus on Randy. It's like, Randy, if you quest with your followers, like, do you want to banish it to draw a card? And then depending on that, Dakota gets more info on when he wants to quest here. And since it quests for 2, he can kind of give up a little bit here on a turn because he can catch up so much faster.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. And we see you inking the Maui to play a Mim, bounce it back. Excellent.
Yep, Snake really, really powerful in this matchup if it gets to ever actually start to challenge. But we've seen Dakota really, really strict about how he wants to challenge in this matchup and not give away too many good ones, as he does go ahead and quest up just a bit here to go up to 3. So he's got the early quest lead, which I think is the way this matchup's going to play out a lot.
Yeah.
And then he's going to keep those cards coming as the game goes. So the Maleficent replacing itself, the Cursed Merfolk, if you want to challenge it, it's going to cost you a card. So we're seeing a lot of card advantage happening here as well.
Yeah.
There's a copy of Be Prepared going into Randy's, and a Brawl. Okay, Randy's doing some board control here. This is what he was missing in game 1.
Right, and he's like, I'm not letting this happen again. But Sir Hiss continues to stand strong.
Are you just like Sir Hiss fan number 1?
I love last game. He was a sleeper agent. He just stuck around. He sung some songs. He quested. Nothing could touch him. But he wasn't like showy about it.
He wasn't too cocky. He's a humble snake. All right.
Yeah. So we'll see if he gets another MVP this match.
It's looking like he might. He's got a great start. If he wants to, he can pick off the Madam Mim snake as well.
Yes.
Lots of options for Dakota here.
Like I said, that 3 is a magic number. It really can do so much against so many cards, regardless of which ink color you're playing.
Yeah, it seems like Dakota has a lot of options this turn, is weighing all of them.
Yes.
I feel like these are some of the harder turns in Lorcana when you have a bunch of options and like, what do I want to ink? What do I want to get right? Because I find a lot of games where I'll get to like turn 8 and then I'll be like, man, I really wish I hadn't inked that card on 3.
It is crazy, that butterfly effect of where you do something small and it comes back to haunt you multiple turns later.
Game looks really simple, but it's so complicated and so in-depth on the play.
It really is. That's why the game is so fantastic. It's like
great.
fairly easy to like come in and like figure out how it works, but the learning curve is just, it goes so sharp once these players, the minutia of the details.
Ooh, really good word there. Is that the word of the day, minutia?
It is now.
All right.
It makes such a huge difference, and these players just know everything in and out. They can predict what their opponent's going to do in advance. But again, the homebrew. Durandy's only played it against him once, so he maybe doesn't know exactly what is going to happen.
Maybe get some Madam Minutia's later. Is that too
Oh
much?
my God.
Is that too on the nose? All right, that might be a little too. Look, I like a good dad joke, so I'm gonna make them when I can.
That's fair.
Speaking of singing songs, which you mentioned earlier, we've got a Friends of the Other Side from the Merlin here. Gonna get some extra cards in Dakota. And speaking of extra cards, that's a lot of rabbits.
That is a lot of rabbits. Such a great card for middle game with most Amethyst decks, just being able to bounce those and get cards. And what did we say? When you have cards in your hand, you're doing good.
Yeah, we had talked about this too. It's a great point of bringing up with the rabbits. We talked about how important these can be in this. Like, I know this isn't a mirror match. It's not the same deck, but they're very similar in a lot of what they're trying to accomplish and do.
Yeah, definitely. And very similar Amethyst cards going in and out. Look at all those rabbits.
Sir Hiss. We hardly knew ye this game, but
he tried his best.
Yeah. He did, in fact, try his best. He did his best. Took care of a snake. And I was like, excuse me.
Honestly, yeah.
I saw the rabbits, and I kept saying hair for some reason instead of care.
That's fair.
Yeah. Hey.
Oh my God. We got this. If there's wordplay, we're on it.
Yeah.
That's it.
We're just making a Disney song as we go.
Yeah, perfect. Baby Pegasus coming out, another evasive, kind of coming in for Sir Hiss as another evasive, moving that forward. Again, Randy doesn't have a whole lot he could do against that with one card at least.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to have to, play something like Madame Medusa on 6 or something like that to take care of Pegasus, and that never feels good.
Trading for a 1 with a 6, no, not so much.
And that's one of the things in this matchup I think Randy has to do. Like I said, I've never played it from Randy's side, but there are some points where you kind of, you're going to get got, right? Like it's like, I've got to take what I can take here. I've got to brawl this card that I don't want to brawl. I've got to Madame Medusa this card. I've got to Madame Medusa. And look, Randy actually had a pretty powerful turn here. You got a Fox to come in for an advantageous challenge on one of the rabbits there, and then followed up with 2 1-drops here that are going to replace themselves and gain some lore here. So that was a very positive turn for Randy here. See if Dakota has a little bit to fight back. Immediately questing with the rabbit, though. I got to believe there's some kind of maybe some bounce shenanigans here. And yep,
there she is. Madam Mim snake down.
I love this bounce package from Zek. So one of the first events I ever did of this, I watched one of my friends playing this deck for one round. I immediately went and just got the entire deck.
You were like, yes.
Yeah, I was like,
I'm sold.
I was like, this is my jam. I like this. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Goat coming down for one lore. Dakota is starting to pull ahead. Him and Randy were pretty well matched for the first few turns of this, but Dakota making some big moves here.
Mm-hmm. And luckily for Dakota here, we're not going into turn 7 just yet, because that would have been a little scary to run into both the followers into a turn 7 from Randy.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. Randy questing with that Chernobog's followers and banishing it to draw another card. What do you think maybe he's looking for here?
If he doesn't have a copy of Be Prepared already, since there was one kind of pitched so early in the game, I think we're trying to find possibly another copy of it, or just some more removal here. Madame Medusa wouldn't be too bad here this turn. Something to affect the board on Dakota's side of the board. Which, let's see if Randy can do that. That's what I say, 4. It's going to draw another card. Yeah, I think he's just trying to prep for the rest of the game here, because it's like what you said. I think he's starting to feel a little bit of the pressure here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and when you have cards bouncing, they just keep going, and it's a hard train to stop once it's left the station.
Yeah, I mean, as anyone who plays the Ruby Amethyst knows, you can do all this stuff. So this is a great timed play.
Absolutely.
For Dakota here. This is kind of what I mentioned in game 1. While it's not getting any songs, knowing there is not a Be Prepared on Randy's side here is awesome. And look, I love this from this deck. When you have a bunch of 1, 2s, and 3s, you don't have to throw out Ursula on turn 2 too often, because you have another play or maybe some more 1-drops you could play. And you could wait till the turn before that pivotal spell, that pivotal song that you're trying to get out. So Be Prepared costs 7. You can play Ursula on 6, and if they have it in their hand, you can take it out the turn before, and that's a lot more impactful a lot of times than just playing Ursula on 2 and taking it out of their hand.
Yeah. I mean, getting a song is great, but just the intel that she provides by being able to take a little peek is just fantastic.
One of my favorite cards in the game, by the way. Absolutely love this Ursula card. It's not going to come up in this matchup, but in some matchups, there's a chance. Dakota talks about he can have a problem with some of like the Ruby Amethyst decks sometimes, or the ones that sing a lot of songs with like the very early singers. Mm-hmm. And there are some lines where you like Ursula in 2, and then you like pick Ursula up, play Ursula again, pick Ursula up, play Ursula again.
Just get rid of all. Yeah, honestly, that is such a good strategy against that sort of deck, because if they can't get the songs out, I mean, their singers got to sing. They're not super strong. They're not super.
The
that's
song
what they
is
need.
Yeah, the deck is made to sing. If you can keep them from singing, that's probably pretty good.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, looks like I got a little discussion possibly with the judge or something about what happened this turn. But okay, so Dakota in a great spot now. He's got a rabbit and a goat in play, right?
Yes.
So great targets for him to bounce in this matchup, while his opponent doesn't have too many great ways to affect the board from Dakota Cotton here. Also, we know there's no Be Prepared here. So if Be Prepared happens, we know it's coming off the top of the deck.
Yes.
But you can't play as if that's going to happen. You can't look for monsters under the bed.
Right, absolutely. Looks like Dakota questing. And then Randy bringing out the crab, giving a little boost to Cusco, able to take out that goat.
Yep, draw an extra card here as well. How good has Merlin Crab looked this matchup? It's
so good.
Right?
I'm going to be honest with you. I was kind of not a crab believer. I mean, until a couple weeks ago, but now I'm sold. It's fantastic.
Yeah, in this matchup, it's just shined. It's looked absolutely amazing. And then there's some of the ones, when you're playing against, say, like, some of the decks that go a little bit bigger, they have something like a Tamatoa or whatever. You need this to be able to get rid of some of their characters sometimes. Because if you look over at the side of the board, there's 1/3s and 1/1s and some pretty small characters in Dakota's side.
Yes.
These crabs are working overtime and making sure that they can get the job done in challenges as well as questing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because he has a ton of utility on his side, but the crab is allowing the damage to happen. Without the crab, there's not a whole lot of heavy hitters. Maybe, I guess probably one of the higher ones would be Madame M. Fox with the 4.
That's practically the biggest thing he has in his deck. Other than, he has a couple copies of the big Ursula. We talked about that, but there's only a few of those. We're not going to see a ton. We may see the shift line, but like that's a card that's also...
I thought he was going to shift it.
I thought he was too. That's also a card that it's not going to be as impressive in this matchup as it would be in some other ones.
Right, for sure.
It's not, it's not made for this matchup.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Another rabbit drawing another card.
I love the grin that we're getting from Randy, seeing from him, because he's like, look, I'm the Amethyst deck here. You can't do the Amethyst thing better than me.
Right.
Yeah. Or that, or he's thinking, he's like, is this how it feels to sit across from this? Is this what I've been doing to people?
Oh, fantastic. Mermaid or Cursed Merfolk coming down. Which, not as effective as a late game card, but lore is lore at this point.
That's a quick triple quest up here. I think we found a Be Prepared off the top. It looks like we did. That is huge for Randy here.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. That could not have been timed better.
Dakota does get to draw a card here. He had a goat out as well, so gain a lore here.
Yes.
So we'll have to see what kind of rebuild he can have from here, because he gets to be the first one to the board here. But for Randy, I don't think he cares. That's the best possible draw he could have had.
Yeah, absolutely. That was fantastic.
Oh, this is so important. I'm so glad that you just got excited about this.
Yeah, I did.
In this mirror match, I know it's not the straight mirror, like I've said, but in Ruby Amethyst, if you're playing against each other, if you could force the opponent to be the first one to be prepared, you could be so far ahead if you have a castle behind this, because now it's so hard for them to get rid of the castle the turn after Be Prepared. It takes multiple cards to do this. Like Maui can't do it alone. It usually involves Crab with multiple bounces and a Fox, and it's very hard to do all that.
Yes, you're guaranteed to get that passive lore at least twice. So that's a really fantastic.
Also, there's a goat here being played by Dakota as well. So multiple problems for Randy here. He has a rabbit. He's going to draw an extra card here, but you're getting the point. Dakota's at 12 lore. Once he starts to get up to like 14, 15, 16, that gets really scary when there's a goat hanging around, because you might lose the game from a spot where Dakota doesn't even have to quest, especially with the castle sitting around. So this is getting a little scary for Randy here. Dakota was up to the challenge of being prepared after being prepared.
Yes. Oh, another castle on the other side. That's really interesting. So both players have a castle. Neither player is able to take out the other player's castle at this point. But Dakota is probably in a better position to do so.
See, that's a really good point. Dakota is actually in a better position to take care of this, because he's got the goat in play. Let's say he has something like a crab here or whatever this turn. He could possibly take out this castle this turn if you had a... Okay, well, here we go. We got a rush card, Peter Pan.
Okay.
Oh. That's double Peter Pan.
Okay.
Oh.
And a crab. Oh,
we just got all of it. All right, so that's going to take care of the castle.
Excellent.
We're going to quest with the goat here.
Yes.
Okay. I love this turn for Dakota. He has pulled super far ahead, and now Randy's back in the spot of, you need to be prepared again.
Yes, that was so effective. He was able to put so much on a board in one turn. That's incredible. We have more evasive. It's a lot. Randy absolutely needs to be prepared.
And here's the crazy part. Even if he be prepared this turn, he's still super far behind, because Dakota will quest up to 17 from the castle. Yeah, God, castle is so good.
I know. I love it. I get excited every time I see it. Cage trading.
Yeah,
to draw the card.
Yeah, I think Randy's seeing the writing on the wall here yet again.
Absolutely.
And you can see why Dakota likes his deck into this matchup. I mean, this has looked really good here.
Beautiful.
And that is a 2-0 for Dakota here. So backing up his words of, hey, this is the kind of matchup that I want here.
Absolutely.